but we're very glad that you're here with us for what's the second of 3 different occasions like this for you to debrief with us on your experiences from December 1st of last year, which were part of our I'll Give for Giving Tuesday Matching Grant program. What I wanted to do to start the call was really just share a little bit of broad totals on the day. We've shared many of these already with you in our blog posts or in other email communication, but this is just a little bit of a taste of our experiences on the day. And then we're very interested in hearing from you. So most of this call will consist of Rosa, who's with us, and myself, just being quiet and listening to you talk with one another. So we really want to encourage you to share in this forum and be able to take away things that worked and contribute things that you felt were effective, but also share some of the challenges. As we move to, and we're actually also recording this call for later, so we'll have that as a resource for other folks. For those of you who are familiar with Foundation, this is a little bit redundant, but you know the Foundation provides grants in 3 different programs. And so there are representatives from each of our different focus areas on the call today. We have organizations that help student entrepreneurs have richer experiences and become more successful in starting their businesses. We fund programs where cancer patients are taking greater engagement in their treatment practices and leading to higher quality of life from hunger survivorship. And then we have programs that aid individuals with developmental disabilities experience higher quality of life, typically vocational and residential experiences. So we've got folks from each of those 3 areas on the call, and we had of the 48 organizations across all 3 program areas. We had in total 48 organizations that were part of this program, and according to what you reported to us, collectively the 48 of you raised over $1.2 million, which is pretty remarkable for a single day and significant presence in terms of the Giving Tuesday national experience. $1.2 million came from over 5,100 donors. Donation size was actually a pretty hefty $233, and that really exceeded the national averages that we had seen from Giving Tuesday. Can I ask that anyone on the call, if you could mute your phone, that would help us get a little bit better sound quality, and then when you're ready to speak, certainly take it off mute. The $1.2 million also involved about 2,500 new donors. So almost of our donors participating in the program were new, which is fantastic. And those new donors contributed about $380,000 of the $1.2 million total. So even that said, from new donors, $150 per donation was a pretty good participation. Interestingly, we had 40 organizations involved in 2015 who were also involved in 2014, and collectively, those 40 organizations experienced a 25% increase in their donations last year versus the year before. We did have some of that 40 that had a net increase and some that had a net decrease, but overall, all 40 experienced a 25% increase in donations. So that really is reflective of the fact that Giving Tuesday is becoming a more established dynamic within philanthropy, and we saw our organizations ride that wave of increase as was seen nationally. And of course, from our standpoint, very exciting was that we were able to pay out 48 matching grants, and those grants ranged anywhere from $1,000 to $20,000. We capped the maximum amount of payout at either $15,000 or $20,000 based upon the past experiences we had had in the Giving Tuesday program with a particular organization. So organizations that tended to raise more money at a $20,000 cap, those that tended to raise less, a $15,000 cap. And we had a handful of organizations that worked with us for the first time on this program, and they each received a $15,000 cap as well. So in total, we were able to pay out almost $600,000, which was significantly more than in the prior 2 years, and the foundation paid about $330,000. So now we've paid, over $1 million in matching grants on this program, and results have been really good. If I could just reiterate my request, if you're not speaking, please mute your phone. And also, the sound quality is much better if you call in as opposed to using your phone for audio. So we may have to ask that you dial in versus the computer audio, but we'll kind of see how that goes on sound quality. So overall, that was our experience. We felt very good about what transpired. We heard kind of anecdotal feedback from a number of your organizations, either in your email reports or in conversations that make us feel like this was a positive program and that the structure of this particular match around incremental increases to giving was an improvement over matches we've offered in prior years. So we're excited about that as well. But we really want to take the remainder of the call to hear from you, and we want to know what were your experiences with the campaign. So, you know, we want to create an environment here where you can share with your colleagues, where you can ask questions of them, where you can hear what they and you did well, and so that's what this environment is all about. Now, we've got some kind of questions that we'll put out here as thought starters, but we really want this call to be yours and for you to take it where it's most helpful for you. But when you do weigh in, because we've got a large number of folks and are not able to kind of go around the room and do introductions, we'll ask that you, when you can make a comment, introduce yourself and your organization, your role with your organization. And then these are just kind of some suggested topics. What worked for you? What did you find very challenging? And what is your really most important takeaway? So those are maybe some thought starters, but if you have a burning question, you know, feel free to offer that up. We want to take some time here to engage, and then as the call draws near to a close, we'll have some specific questions about which we're interested in that we'll offer. But first, we want some general feedback. So who would like to go first?
This is Kathy Malone from Fox Valley Hands of Hope.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. I think that what was really great for us was how excited and engaged people got because of the matching portion of it. It was immediately ears perking up versus trying to, you know, come up with a new message of our own. It just really engaged people that there's a matching grant involved, and it was as easy as a click. And it kind of forced us to do some marketing of this that was a little bit out of our comfort zone, but was needed to be done and should have been done, you know, a year ago. But, you know, as a smaller nonprofit, we get busy with doing so many things and trying to do too much. And it allowed us to sort of focus our efforts and really, completely made a difference in our end of the year campaign.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, this is Cindy Kane with the Leukemia Research Foundation. I would just add that first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity, and it really did serve as a catalyst for us to launch a new branding campaign. We used the matching grant, the energy of At Giving Tuesday to really invest in sort of a new look for us online, and we transferred that to our email blasts as well as our rotator on our website. It was really a coordinated effort, and we just really looked at the matching grant as a great opportunity to kick off our giving season. And it was very successful. It created a lot of energy, and we just used the opportunity to sort of tease people online, look out for our new campaign it's launching. Tomorrow the campaign is launching, and just greatly increased the number of shares and likes, and continued the opportunity to converse with them in a cost-effective manner online, which we really, this was just a great opportunity to really rally everybody around to do so. And we've been really trying to keep that up, and I would add that it made us think a little bit outside of the box as well in terms of online, and we did our first sort of Facebook advertising, which was very, very cost-effective if people haven't done that, and really helped, and really helped engaged people to share as well as, sponsor ads. So it was a great learning experience for us.
Great.
This is Bobby Goldman from Have Dreams. We just joined.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Bobby. This is Ann Sykon. Hi, everyone. Ann Sykon from Center for Independent Teachers also.
How are you?
Hi.
Hi, we're just kind of, it's open mic afternoon here, so if you'd like to weigh in with any kind of feedback or question, I have some potential questions on the screen about, what particular tactics were effective and what things were more challenging. So it's really just an open occasion for you to weigh in and hopefully get some dialogue with one another.
Okay. Well, I'll just chime in. What we found, we had participated in some of the webinars, and one piece of advice that was, I thought, very helpful for us was to really focus our social media reach outs every Tuesday. So we kind of built this expectation that, 4 or 5 Tuesdays out, we're going to be sending an email or something on social media or an e-blast. And really having a structure around that gave people something to kind of look forward to. It gave us a framework, and it really helped us build momentum this year. And I thought that was a really incredibly useful piece of advice, and it really helped frame our efforts and our marketing efforts, and it helped our community, both at Have Dreams and our friends outside of Have Dreams, to really look for those announcements and those we shared stories, and they just kind of knew to check in. Even though we were sending out e-blasts, they were just alerted that on Tuesdays, 4 or 5 weeks out from Giving Tuesday, there was going to be something online.
Great.
This is Kathy from Fox Valley Hands Hope again, and I totally agree. We did the same thing, and I think it worked really well to just keep every Tuesday we would tell a new story and reiterate the matching grants. And not only did it make a difference, I think, really with our donors, but it made a difference to me because I found myself paying attention to all the emails that I get from other organizations and making sure that I made all my donations online with the matching on that Tuesday as well. So, I feel like I probably donated more to other organizations this year than I ever have in the past, just seeing the excitement building on the Tuesdays from those different emails coming through to me. So it was really neat, coordinated effort.
Kathy, I would have to totally second that enthusiasm being something that just kind of spread across as far as being able to kind of reach out and help everybody a little bit when you could.
Right.
From Center for Independent Futures. And I don't know if this already was mentioned or not, but what we found also helpful was, still combining, because we just know that when we look at our database and we look at the number of individuals in our database who are a little bit older, maybe are not as comfortable with using an online, like they may not even read their emails all that frequently still. What we did is we also, in our annual appeal, put information in there about, please, think on, Giving Tuesday to make your donation online. If you need help, give us a call. So we try to do it both from that population that we know doesn't access the online so much, and then for the online, group of people, using that on a regular basis, keeping those stories, new stories. It was fun to have all the stories created ahead of time and ready to go out. And also using, again, trying to really engage, because we do have Northwestern students who, really volunteer a lot of time at our organization, and also for being able to reach out to other college students. We used that college network also.
Right.
Hi, this is Jennifer with the Little City Foundation, and on top of everything that everybody else has been saying, one of the things that we did this year, better than in years past, I can honestly say that this is probably the first year that we had a dedicated effort into Giving Tuesday. In the past, we've made mention of it through email the day before or the day of. That ties into our overall campaign, but nothing as strong as this past year. And so what we did was we leveraged, because our end-of-year campaign, the direct mail piece, always mails right before Thanksgiving, probably the week before Thanksgiving. And so what we did was just kind of tie in our Giving Tuesday efforts with that campaign. In the mail piece, there wasn't anything necessarily saying anything about Giving Tuesday or the matching grant, but beforehand, when it came to our newsletter that drops in October in the mail, there was mention of it there, again, with social media and emails beforehand, kind of saying, about Giving Tuesday. In fact, our November e-newsletter that went out actually had a high conversion rate because of the Giving Tuesday piece that was in there, which, I mean, it's fine, but we wanted people not to give until Giving Tuesday. They gave a little sooner, but it's okay. And so just kind of tying and capitalizing on everything with the theme of the direct mail, and the stories and all of that. So what we did this year that we didn't do last year was we withheld asking for donations via online communications until Giving Tuesday. In the past, there's always like an email appeal that goes out kind of coordinated with the time that we know the mail piece hits home. And this time we decided to not do that and just wait until the day of Giving Tuesday to ask for the donations, and it actually turned out very well. We had high numbers of people that I guess you can kind of say they're considered new donors under our definition, but some of them were not just new altogether. They were in our database but had never given before, or the time that they gave in the past was so long ago that they considered to be a new recapture. So that's a good thing. And, you know, a few of them decided to give more because of the matching challenge. So they knew that if they gave more than whatever they gave last year, then that portion would get matched. And so it really incentivized people to want to give on Giving Tuesday, but also give a little bit more.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer.
Hi, this is Amy from Cancer Support Center.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. We worked with our local corporations and business partners and had them help with us in spreading the Giving Tuesday message through their social media, electronic newsletters, and kind of almost put them in a little bit of competition with each other, which really helped us. We quadrupled the amount we raised from last year to this year. And I think the match structure really helped us this year, too. Not only was it new donors, but it was asking existing donors to maybe go up to that next level. And I think those two things really helped us, you know, not only meet our goal, but exceed what we were hoping to raise this year.
Good, good.
Hi, this is Linda Cordero with the Douglas Center, and we had a lovely time with this. It was really a lot of fun for everybody. We did a lot of things that we had never done before, and we have participated in Giving Tuesday. But you know, we had an email blast every Tuesday, and then more within that last week, and talked about the matching grant. But we also created a couple of parent testimonial videos that we also included in our email blast, so that people could see some examples of what some of our parents had to say about the work that the Douglas Center is doing. So that was a lot of fun. We also engaged more in our social media, and we enlisted some social media ambassadors. And so we, every time we had an email, we placed it in the social media ambassador group, and then they sent it out to their social media networks, and that was a lot of fun. You know, again, with the because everything had to be done online, we did have, and I think I heard other people mention, we did have people who, you know, shy away from going on and putting things online. So we had them call us if they wanted to, and then we either walked them through it, or we took their credit card information and then placed it online for them. And we did that even after hours. I had a number that they could call after hours if they wanted to not place it online themselves. And up until probably about 11 o'clock, I got phone calls. So that was a lot of fun. But it was very successful. We got a lot of new donors and people upping, you know, what they have given us in the past. So we're very appreciative and very grateful.
Great, Linda. Thank you.
This is Nancy from Park Lawn. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. We pretty much, you know, engaged with all of our social media, e-blast, Twitter, Facebook, but we also did a little marketing the old-fashioned way by engaging some of our local businesses like the Kenwood Liquor Store that supports us year-round. We asked them to include a small flyer with their outgoing orders. So it's a very busy liquor store. They're right here in Oak Lawn, down the street from us, and I think we gave them the flyers maybe the week of Thanksgiving when it would start to get real busy in their store. And I want to say they went through maybe 7,000 flyers, quite a few, many thousand flyers. So, and we did actually see an increase in our new donors because of that method. Of course, people had to go online. They had to visit our website, see what we were all about. And, you know, we're hoping that it wasn't just Oak Lawn area people, that there were others from outside communities that received our little piece of information and now know who we are and what we do.
Great, Nancy. Thank you.
Hi, this is Audrey from Search. I just want to echo what everyone else has said. You know, I completely agree that this year we were able to, you know, build on what we did last year for the Giving Tuesday campaign when we had the matching grant as well, which, you know, really was the first time we had ever tried anything like an online campaign. And I think we were a little bit, you know, we were unsure how the second year campaign would be received, if that would encourage people to come back or if they were really, you know, one-time donors. And what we found was that they rally back to us on Giving Tuesday and that the messaging is much more in place now. So people actually expect to be hearing from us and are much more aware that, you know, Giving Tuesday exists, that the donations need to happen online, and they all need to happen within a certain time period. So overall, we had a really good success, and I would just, you know, echo everyone else's strategies with coordinating with the mailed campaign. That worked really well for us. We did have some people shift this year from giving their gifts via check later in December to giving online on Giving Tuesday, which is great. I'm very happy with that. And then we also, you know, promoted a few videos this year. We found that those were really well received. They're definitely, you know, more work to put into production, but we found that they really, you know, in terms of viral content on social media, they did much better. So, you know, we couldn't be happier with how it turned out.
Great, Audrey. Thank you.
This is Jennifer again with Little City. I just wanted to, I forgot to mention one thing and that triggered it when somebody mentioned flyers. We also did a very strong effort to involve our employees and increase employee giving during the holiday season, especially with Giving Tuesday. So we also had flyers made for Giving Tuesday and then as well for the just general holiday campaign, but we did have some employees participate either via social media or actually giving on Giving Tuesday and even becoming monthly donors with us, so that also helped a lot.
This is Ray Chase from Stars Family Services. This was our second year, and we had a much greater success with giving this year, partially because as we tried to understand the process last year, we got too focused on the mechanics, and this year we just kind of let it go with a lot of social media tied into our mailing. And what was really encouraging for us was as it launched our year-end appeal, 75% of our donations came in on that Tuesday, whether they met the criteria or not. For us, that was still good, so that we could see early on in the campaign where how we were doing. So the other thing is that as you articulate new ways, and even this means of getting feedback, it stretches us to think differently and try new ideas. So very, very successful. Thank you for allowing us to participate.
Good, Rick. Thank you for your comments.
Hi, this is Kristen Daniels from Clearbrook. I kind of want to chime in along those same lines. First of all, just starting by saying thank you, but we found a little bit of success with the pilot program that we started this year, which was just utilizing peer-to-peer fundraising and promoting the match that way. We had a couple of clients' families that were willing to tap into their spheres of influence and ask on behalf of Clearbrook, so it opened us up to audience we wouldn't have otherwise. And those folks were really motivated by kind of testing the water, waters, see what Clearbrook does with the dollars, and they could make a relatively modest gift and have it matched. So the feedback there was great. It seemed to go really well, and I think moving forward, we would try and build almost like a committee of people that were willing to do some of the peer-to-peer fundraising on our behalf to help us reach new audiences and make their dollars stretch further with the match. So that was really helpful for us.
That's great, Kristen. Yeah, you may have seen our blog post about the campaign where we included a comment, pardon me, a comment from another organization that had an experience just like that, where a staff member shared a Facebook post that the organization made. That staff member's daughter shared it, and then within that next network of sharing, they connected to an individual that made a first-time $5,000 gift. So that was a pretty remarkable experience. I think it does show the power of these networks of networks and the way that we can mobilize folks to spread out through their networks the word. Could be very, a lot of potential there.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. That's definitely something that's changed over my years in the field, is that access through very small social media touch points really expands our scope exponentially. That's an awesome story.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, anyone else want to provide some initial perspective?
This is Lanny. Oh, sorry. Lanny from WDSRA. And the only thing that I would add on top of what everybody else has said is that we are continually amazed with our board. Our board just takes it on as a personal challenge, and they take on lists and they reach out. So, again, expanding that sphere of touch of folks that would not know us otherwise, and continues to amaze us how successful their efforts continue to be. And this is our third year, and it was a great year.
Great. Lanny, what specifically did you ask them to do, or what did the board
Well, we actually ran lists and did targets and looked at lapsed donors that, for whatever reasons, if we can see, we provide programming for people with disabilities. Maybe that person's not receiving services anymore. Maybe they were related somehow, but now they're not engaged. So we actually gave each board member 30 names that they would call and try to reach out to at least engage them. If not in Giving Tuesday, obviously that was the point, but just engage them again with WD. And people's calls were being taken, and there were conversations being had, and it really fired up the board. So, every year it's a great challenge to see what you guys will come up with, because they seem to rise to the occasion, on top of all the other social media and marketing that everybody's already mentioned.
Great. Thanks, Lanny.
Hi, this is Tracy from the Economic Awareness Council, and thank you again for this opportunity. That we found the matching grant huge and motivating, particularly new donors, and especially the way the match was handled this year with increased donation. That really helped with the challenge of, continuing to encourage previous donors. But one just new thing that I wanted to add was this day was so helpful for us, not only just in the donations, but also in the connections that we made. In the conversations we were having with the donors on Giving Tuesday, we found a few people that, for example, hadn't ever volunteered with us before and had an interesting expertise and were interested in volunteering, so we found new volunteers. We had a couple people who it turned out they were giving personally, but they happened to work at institutions that would be great partners for us, and then made referrals to continue that conversation. So I think the impact is even greater than the dollars that, even the substantial dollars, that were generated on that day. So thank you again.
Great. Thanks, Tracy.
Hi, this is Julie from Misericordia. I just know I haven't really heard a huge amount of challenges from people, but one of the things that I found was that, with just trying to get new donors, I was just sort of looking at last year's results and this year's, and I think we really went down. I mean, we did very well in consideration for Giving Tuesday, but just in the amount of new donors that we got, was significantly lower than last year. So I think that is just, this is something that I'm glad has been brought to our attention, and that, we just really need to figure out how to reach out, to try and get the new people. And I think one of the things someone mentioned was boosting your posts on Facebook, which we started a little bit with other campaigns. So that's just something that we're going to take into consideration, because, we're always looking for new people, we have a great family association and siblings, but they continually donate, and so we need the new. So that was just something that we noticed was a slight challenge this year.
Yeah, great, Julie. Was there anyone who did something that was very successful in engaging new donors? Any particular tactic that anyone would like to share?
This is Audrey from Search. I would just echo some of what people were saying earlier about reaching out to other networks, partnerships, whether through families connected to your organization or corporations that partner with you. We are lucky enough to have a longtime partner that's a clothing company, so they very generously sent out a couple email blasts to their list for us, including one with a donation link on Giving Tuesday. So that's a completely new audience for us, and any donors from their side would be new donors. So that kind of thing is extremely helpful.
Great.
Hi, this is Dawnine Suriano at UCP Seguin.
Hi, Dawnine.
I also, like Mr. Cordia, felt like our new donors dropped off this year. Obviously, in the previous year, we had really focused on new donors so much. This year, our primary focus was more working to get additional matches in addition to the Coleman match. And so we really, in our outreach to our current donors and asking them to share, which we did, we basically focused on the fact that there would be multiple matches, whether you were a new donor or a lapsed donor or a current donor that would need to increase their donation to have that additional money to match their donation. So our focus was there. We did see a drop-off in our new donors, but I was in listening to some of the other people when we had discussed with the Intersect group, I felt like there was a good idea that I'm hoping to capitalize on next year, which would be methods of tracking your shares, and which would also encourage your staff and family members to actually follow through on additional shares, whether it be on their social media or with a postcard or with even with a phone call or an e-blast, any of the potential ways that they might reach out, you know, in person to person through the peer group like was previously discussed, but as a way to track it so that then we could see what is the best means of soliciting. So that we might utilize that information more in the future.
Thanks, Sunny. Who hasn't had a chance to add?
Well, this is Cindy with the Leukemia Research Foundation again. I would just add that, you know, the focus was very much online, obviously, and what we found is that we could post all we wanted, but that it needed to be balanced with engagement and interaction in order to be noticed on the radar screen of people we were hoping to target and get them to share. You know, the goal was that they'd be interested in the LRF and hopefully follow us and engage back. So we did a lot of infographics, we did a lot of, you know, posting of stories, and again, tried to brand it so it really looked like a campaign and really elevated sort of the look. But I would just, you know, share that really the balance of what we did online, we really tried not to be soliciting until like really at Giving Tuesday was upon us, you know, couple days before.
Great, thanks.
Hi, this is Tracy again from the Economic Awareness Council, and I just wanted to throw out that, you know, definitely we found Facebook helpful and did the Facebook ads, as someone else had mentioned, for the first time and got a really big response to those, and definitely used success stories as the most effective we found in engaging things to share. But we also use, I know it's a little old-fashioned, but email to, you know, our networks of contact and stories that they could share. You know, it's not as social media, but it is another way of sharing online with some folks that maybe aren't as engaged in social media.
This is Kathy from Fox Valley Hands of Hope again. I was just curious if anybody else had the challenge. I think it was a little bit difficult to explain the matching portion of it with the whole donation being less than last year, and for some of our donors totally got it, and then some of them, I feel like I explained it like 5 times and they still sent in a check. One person even sent in a check for less. Maybe they didn't know what their donation was even though I don't even know. But sometimes I felt like there was some confusion surrounding the way it was structured with the match, and I don't know if it was just that we weren't explaining it clear enough, if there was a better way, or if anybody else had that experience.
This is Jennifer with Little City. It was difficult. I will say it did get confusing. It even got confusing for, I'm our social media specialist or online communications marketing person, but for the director of annual giving and some of the other directors in development, it was confusing to kind of understand what we meant. And so I had to use examples with them so that they would understand. So what we tried doing in the simplest way when it came to messaging, because we didn't call donors individually unless they would contact us, how we would explain it was, if you give more than your single type, a portion of your donation will get matched. We didn't even go into like the details as to exactly how or the difference or anything like that. We just said a portion because it was kind of difficult for people to understand that.
That's interesting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we understand that was a little challenging.
The one thing I would say, Clark, is that when I did have a question and I called you, I was really appreciative that, first of all, you were really accessible and answered my question right away. And, sometimes when you're dealing with, you're kind of not sure who you're calling or are you going to get a message or whatever. And so that was really refreshing that I could answer a donor's question right away. And that was, I don't know if you remember, I called you because they've given in-kind donation, and they were curious, like if they were going to have a straight cash donation versus their in-kind donation, would that be matched? And anyway, we got it handled right away, and that was really nice.
Good. We're glad we could help you with that.
Yeah, ditto, Clark. This is Linda Cordero. It was a real lifesaver on many occasions, so thank you for being so accessible, because it was our first time and we were really trying to find our way around all of it.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, I know Giving Tuesday, the day itself is pretty wild, so we tried to, as much as we could, support things beforehand and then respond quickly on the day. Other questions that you might have that you'd like to pose to your counterparts?
No, this is Terry Herbstreit at PAC Learning Center. Hi, Clark, and hi, everybody. I've been able to join here for the last 20 minutes or so. I had some mix-up, but I didn't find it so challenging. I mean, I think that people are just confused by the whole concept in general. I mean, in spite of all the emails and Facebook posts and so on, you still have people donating the day before or the day after online, or sending checks and designating them for Giving Tuesday. It's just, you're just going to have some of that, that we have to accept some level of that. I just wanted to mention that I thought the best thing I heard was from JoJo and maybe someone mentioned this before I got on, at the Intersect meeting from Barbara Olson, was that whole idea of a Thank You Wednesday following this.
We actually did Thank You Thursday, just because it took us a little bit of a while to catch up on Wednesday, and then first thing Thursday, because we kind of wanted to have some tallying, and we were collecting from our, the online source and whatnot. So we actually did a big Thank You Thursday email out to everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's a wonderful way to, follow up the Giving Tuesday campaign, which I see as just an element of the overall end-of-year strategy. And, I've struggled to integrate it into that program. I shouldn't say struggle, but I've tried to look at it not as a separate campaign, but as part of an overall strategy.
Yeah, Terry, I think we think of it as that element of your strategy that helps you reach folks of a particular type. So as I indicated, there's some people that are just not going to be comfortable donating online and therefore aren't really the appropriate target for this. But there are the examples of people that are comfortable, and the example of the the $5,000 gift from out of left field is a kind of a gold standard there. If we can use this particular strategy to attack those folks and inspire them to be part of the work that we do, that's what we hope to achieve.
Absolutely.
Any other questions you'd like to ask before we ask a couple of ours? Okay, then we'll jump ahead. And we have just a few things that we wanted to surface because this is an opportunity for us to really learn about your experiences. And number one, just really quickly, we'd like to get a few examples of, how much time did it take for you to respond to us and submit the documentation that we requested. And we gave you that template that almost everyone used, the Excel template, so that was very helpful to us. But we wanted to get a sense, was this an exercise that took, 2 hours? Did it take 2 days? What level of intensity was involved? So if we could just kind of quickly get some examples, and don't feel like everyone has to comment, but how much time did it take you to produce that report?
I thought it was extremely easy. This is Kathy from Fox Valley Hands of Hope. It took no time. It was well set up, and, we had everything that we needed at our fingertips just with our database and stuff. So I was appreciative of how easy it was.
Great.
Yeah, Ray Chase, Stars Family Services, same here. It was easy to turn around. I think the one thing that we might do better next year, though, is settle on a single point of contact because we had 3 people trying to report to you.
Okay.
We found it very easy at Center for Independent Futures. It was really well put together.
Okay. And
I would agree. Bobby from Have Dreams, I would agree. I thought it was very easy to report this year.
Yeah, and was it a half-day exercise? Was it a couple hours? Can you give us some kind of general sense of how long it took to compile the data?
This is Amy from Cancer Support Center. I'd say it took somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. It wasn't very, very time-consuming at all.
Okay.
Yeah, same here. As we kept up with it, because we were watching it, we were really doing it in real time. So to turn it around to you, it just took us, maybe a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing it in real time as well, and just kind of as soon as something was coming in, I was just logging into a personal spreadsheet that was just easily transferable.
Sorry, this is Jennifer with Little City. It was fairly easy. We recently had switched our online giving or donation platform from Net Community to Illuminate Online. So it was a lot easier than it would have been probably in the past. But it did take for me, it was kind of just a matter of minutes to pull the timestamps. But to get the actual comparisons of whether or not there were existing donors, it might have taken our database managers a couple hours.
Okay. Thanks, Jennifer.
This is Audrey from Search. It sounds like maybe it took me a little bit longer than some other people are saying. I think just in terms of, not to pull the timestamp donations, that's not too hard, but we had donations from a couple different online sources, so that took a little bit of time. Also just making sure to do our due diligence to reconcile, fair market value and total value of gifts, et cetera. So, and also comparing, new donors versus existing donors. So, I would say it was more like a half-day exercise for me.
Okay, great. Thanks.
This is Linda with Douglas Center. It was really very easy. That the Excel spreadsheet and all made it so easy. If it took us that long, it was max 2 hours.
Okay.
This is Johnine Siriano. It took me longer, I think, because I didn't do anything real time, because during real time I was actually thanking donors. So I spent all of my real time doing that, and so later I ended up pulling the information later, and it was, for me, there's just one person, so it wasn't like several people working on it. So anyway.
Terry from PACT, I would tend more towards Audrey in the half day rather than a couple hours. But it was very easy. It was more the time spent more going into the database and getting the historical comparative information I needed.
Yeah, yeah, that's where we thought there might be a little bit of complexity. Okay.
But I mean, it wasn't that hard, and
okay,
you know, I would imagine our numbers were lower than some of the bigger organizations.
This is Lanny, WDSRA. We found just the tracking of the incremental piece. We were able to set something up in advance so it was easily put into the Excel. So I think we probably took about 3 hours. Again, with that incremental piece, we were a little bit worried about how we would be able to track it. But there was a piece in Donor Perfect that allowed us to do that, so it made it a lot easier.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thanks for the perspective on that question. The second question is, as we think going forward, you know, we hope that there will be an opportunity that we'll be able to provide an incentive for next year, this year's Giving Tuesday, which is actually in November this year, as Thanksgiving comes a little bit earlier in the calendar. But our board hasn't approved that, so we can't really kind of come out with anything definitive. But as we think through that, we're interested in thoughts that you might have regarding how we might structure a grant for Giving Tuesday 2016. The way in which it was structured in 2015 came directly out of feedback we received in a debrief session like this, where organizations suggested an incentive around incremental giving could be meaningful. So there is an opportunity today to contribute something that could ultimately be our match structure for next year. So I wanted to give an opportunity for folks to suggest some things that they might ask us to consider. We have received from some other organizations thoughts about way we might be able to provide incentives to individuals to become ongoing givers in either a monthly type of way or a regular type of ongoing contributions. That's one idea that we're kind of kicking around. But are there other things that you'd ask us to consider?
I may have, this is Terry from PACT, I may have mentioned at that Intersect meeting that if we wanted to put a premium on new donors, that they may be matched at a higher level than, you know, an incremental or lapsed donor.
Yeah. Thanks, Terry.
This is Kristen from Clearbrook, and this is our first year. This is my first year being a part of this, so maybe it's something that you guys have discussed more heavily, but we have a lot of people involved in Clearbrook that have really only been attendees for special events and not donors. So either incentives or exceptions related to people that are kind of taking a more active role or a differently active role.
But not as a donor, do you mean, Kristen?
Correct, correct. So we've got a lot of people that, frankly, that come to our parties and then we don't hear from them again.
Okay.
So kind of encouraging them to, like I said, kind of take a different role.
And what could they do on Giving Tuesday that would signal that or be the proxy for it?
I don't know. To be honest, I probably need to think more about it, and
Yeah.
we need to brainstorm as a team. It's something that needs to be a priority for us regardless of a match. But we've got even people that attend really high-end events and make substantial donations in the form of a ticket cost, but that don't come back and give without that added benefit of a party, frankly.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Clark, this is Amy with Have Dreams. I've been a little quiet because I have a bit of a cold, but I just wanted to say I love the monthly giving idea because it might give those of us that have had a couple of strong years of Giving Tuesdays convert some previous donors into monthly donors. So if we, I mean, I'd have to think through the logistics of that, but you could say, like, you know, even if you've given before, if you're willing to commit to a monthly gift instead of an annual gift, we can get it matched. So $10 a month could become almost $250 a year for Have Dreams, or, you know, just it gives us a chance to generate some new excitement around people who've participated previously.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
This is Audrey. The only thing that I will add to what other people have said is just something that I mentioned earlier was some people this year switched their gift from making you know, a check, a written donation in the mail sometime throughout the month of December to making an online gift on Giving Tuesday. And, you know, it occurred to me that maybe we should reward that in some way. I didn't have any more thoughts as to how. It was just a trend that I noticed this year.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then the last topic we wanted to probe was your interest in participating in research around Giving Tuesday and individual giving. And as you may know, we made an effort very late in the game last year to encourage organizations to be part of a formal research project with some researchers out of the University of Chicago at the Science of Philanthropy Initiative that we met really in the fall. So this was just in the October-November timeframe that we were trying to encourage this to happen, and we didn't really provide enough time to you or to the researchers involved to really do it well. But we are interested in exploring whether there are some kind of research questions that we could address in Giving Tuesday and test various different approaches to really realize some good data-based results that we can share broadly. So I don't know if Anya Samek is on our call today. If you are, Anya, just feel free to jump in. But Anya was part of the research team that we had been talking to last fall. And we've still got some hopes that there could be a research question that collectively we could address. So I'd just like to invite you, if your organization might have interest in participating in such a project, to send me an email just saying you'd like to learn more. And again, at this stage, there are no plans that have been specified for what this might look like. What it may involve is you know, a different type of incentive that could be played, maybe a couple different types of incentives that could be put out into the market to see how prospective donors respond, or it could be how you use different language to communicate the opportunity. We're not really certain what it might look like, but we're, again, projecting that if we do fund the Giving Tuesday project, it would be very interesting to document some actual, you know, data-driven lessons learned. So, again, if you're interested in that, please send me an email. We'll be trying to engage with the research community a little bit and understand if there's an opportunity to move this forward. So no need to communicate anything on the call today, but please, again, send me an email if you and your organization might be interested. As to what that would involve from you, we know a lot of people asked that last time. We don't have a clear sense as to that, certainly a time commitment of some sort. The research team that had been working with us last fall was very interested in receiving de-identified data that they could then work through to do a lot of the analytics. So I don't think there would be an expectation that you'd have to be doing a lot of the number crunching through this, but you know, we'll have to see what might emerge. So again, send an email if you're interested. We'd love to consider that type of project going forward. So that said, we wanted to thank you very much for your involvement. This is something that's been very educational for us. These calls are very educational to us. We really appreciate your participation. We have, I think, just a couple more minutes, so we'll leave the call open. If you have other questions, feel free to answer them. But if you need to move on to your next obligation, feel free to do that with our thanks. And we'll look forward to working with you going forward. So any other questions anyone wants to raise? Sounds like we're ready to move on to our 3 o'clock meeting. So thank you all very much. We appreciate your engagement in the call, and good luck and have a good week.